Down, down. Down, down. Down da down da diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle 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 da down 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 down. Down da down da diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle 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 da down 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 down. Down da down da diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle 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 da down 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 down. Down da down da diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle 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 da down 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 down. Down da down da diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle 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 da down 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 down. Down da down da diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle diddle down da down da diddle down down da down da diddle 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 da.
G'day and welcome to the final time we're going to say g'day to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. We are going live for the last round in AFL Fantasy, and I'm joined by the champion. We're going to talk to him. We've got lots of questions to go through and to recap last week's action. Let's go!
Just done it from nowhere. Busted the goal from inside the 10. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty. Oh, yeah! Yes! You're a magician. Petrarca. The legend becomes immortal.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy. And the champ is here. Luke Rogerson is sitting here, the reigning, defending Premiership flag winner of the Content Creators Cup.
Living proof that it's better to be lucky than good.
Mate, no, you've had a great year. It's
to come from seventh, there's some serious luck involved.
Mate, yeah, well, just call you the Bulldogs of the Content Creators Cup, and
yeah. Hey,
from outside the top four.
It was cool, man.
Cinderella story, mate.
It was cool, and you know what? To me, is even cooler is as far as the Content Creators Cup goes. Last year, you were the overall champion, and you were the head-to-head champion, and this year you're likely, barring calamity, to be the overall champion, and I'll get the head-to-head championship. It's a Ball Boy sweep.
It's a fucking dynasty over here.
Let's go.
It's a dynasty, mate.
Oh, mate. Couldn't have gone to two more humble blokes either.
Nah.
Let's go.
But congrats on yourself, mate. Great season, and if I'm not mistaken, your best season to date as an AFL fantasy coach.
Yeah, I mean
thus
there's
far.
only a few seasons
Still got
to
time
go
to fuck it up.
But yeah, I think I was around 3K last year. So
mate, under
incremental
halves,
improvements.
So next year, top 1,000. Year after, top 100.
Oh, so you go next year, number one. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah, go skip all that other shit. But no, good season from yourself. Talk us through the matchup because obviously, apologies again. We had you've been a rotten year with illness with the little one.
I was sick of winning.
I told everyone that you got too hard on the beers in your championship, and you just had a hangover.
That does sound like
yeah.
that.
So talk me through the matchup. We didn't have the podcast review, but talk me through the matchup. How did it all go down? Was it comfortable in the end? Like, what were you thinking?
Oh, I mean, Bales and I didn't really have too many points of difference there, but I kind of got extremely lucky with some of the guys that I had go big. Obviously, Butters was massive for me as a unique.
Yep.
But then there was a little push there where he ran the gauntlet.
That Dacos' second and third quarter, that was massive.
Massive. Yeah. And then Bales ran the gauntlet wisely and kept Hayden Young on the bench for Lawson Humphreys. And
yeah, you were crapping your dacks by that first quarter.
Old mate was just had 90 points at half time, I reckon.
He had a 50-point first, I think.
I thought I'm going to get beaten by Humphrey B. Bear here. But it all kind of fizzled and got up by a little bit in the end. So I'm going to jump on with Bales on Sunday night.
Nice.
And gloat.
Just gloat over it in your face.
That's the only reason for being there. So,
no, that's awesome, mate. No, congratulations. And do you remember what your charity was that you were?
Yeah, SIDS for Kids. So it's
Awesome,
the Red Nose Foundation, which is having a young girl myself at home now is pretty significant. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Great cause. And awesome to continue the legacy that is the Ball Boys. Hey. Who will come and contend with us next year?
What's going on?
Oh well, we'll see how we go. But we've got another year for us to shake hands and kiss babies and gloat as long as we like. I was not gloating after the weekend.
No, it was not ideal.
And I'll indulge me for a second because I want to have a conversation about my trades. And look, I've been whining a fair bit on Twitter, but I'm beyond.
Twitter's already heard all this.
I'm beyond this now. Like at the point, I'm happy. I'm in reflection mode. I've had a good year. This is the best year, like you.
Sorry.
Best year I've ever had. But this past weekend, I made some trades which I don't regret making. I think they were, with the information at the time, the right moves. But they fell flat on their face.
Is it fair to say your trades made you sickly?
They did. I was visibly ill just watching Peatling. Oh, my God. But anyway, so it all started with the loop. And looping's a dangerous game,
So
Luke.
you're going to monologue here.
No. Well, you jump in any time because you were a part of this as well.
Yeah.
You forced me to do this, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all your idea. But looping's a dangerous game. And a few people, I tweeted out that night, the question of merit, it raised a lot of questions, like people had him on the bench, and a few people, I think Calvin commented saying, looping is for losers.
And he was accurate.
And he was 100% right.
The Calvinator gets it. He just gets it,
He does. He gets it. And if I hadn't looped, I would have saved myself some points. But I had, 64 merit on my bench.
Yeah.
He got tagged. I was nervous about that, but not nervous enough to trade him out straight up. So he was sitting there. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to live with 64 on my field when no one else in the top 10 did that. So I was in a unique position that, okay, if I can get a player in here from my bench, I can maybe get some points. I wanted to get in Noah Anderson. He had the Melbourne matchup.
Yeah.
Plus, this week he has the Richmond matchup. The only way I could get there from a bench player was getting a Brian Myers to him, who was on my bench anyway. And I had to get rid of Sheasel, right? And so I had to go Sheasel down to Sicily. And we're thinking at the time, right? Like, what's the range of outcomes for Sicily? Like a 50 to 130.
Richmond.
Richmond. He scored 120 or something against them last time. The only thing we were worried about was the sub. That didn't happen. Obviously, they had the sub Will Day early in the round.
We didn't account for disinterested.
Yeah, just straight up quenchness.
All that said and done, Peatling and Sicily on your field, I think from the alternative option that you were thinking about, you actually only kind of lost out by 20 or 30 points, I think, in the end. With all that happening. So,
I gave up the ability to loop in my forward line, thinking that Peatling, he had the 10 coaches' votes the week before.
Yeah.
I thought he might still be in the midfield. And he fucking was. He had a 58% CBA role, played 75% time on ground. He just straight up sucked.
Didn't look like it.
He just straight up sucked. So 33, even if he put up a 50, it's a big difference. But anyway, it was the wrong call at the end. But if you'd have told me Peatling had 80, Sicily had 130, they were totally within the realms of possibility. There's an extra 100 plus points on my thing, and I'm still in the top 10. But dropped out of the top 10. Probably not a chance for any sort of cash prize, but we're still fighting. And I've got a new purpose now, Luke.
What's your new purpose?
Mitchmond the second, he leapfrogged me.
Oh.
I am now no longer the highest ranked Mitchmond.
It's a bit of Mitch on Mitch action.
There's a bit of Mitch on Mitch action. I'm ranked 18th, and Mitchmond with a T, and old mate Mason Cox is a thumbnail. He's ranked one spot ahead of me. He's beating me by 1 point. So this weekend, my sole purpose this weekend is to be the highest ranked Mitchman.
Got to be the best Mitchman.
At the end of the round and at the end of the season, because I will not lose to a Mitchman with Mason Cox as their team logo. That will not happen.
Just rubbing it in.
And so that's my sole purpose. I'm down 1 point, and that's all I'm focusing on. So,
Okay, I'm right there with you, mate.
all right, well, let's go and talk about.
Count on us to use the first 10 minutes of the pod as a therapy session.
Yeah, well, mate, you were bloody letting the team down and bloody throwing up your guts on the other day, so we couldn't get a podcast in.
It's coming out the other end, actually.
Okay. Don't just share too much. All right, let's talk about the team reactions. Well, the news actually hot off the press is we've got some change in game times. So this is all happening right as we speak. I don't know if it's been reflected on the AFL app just yet. Oh no, yes, no, it actually has ticked over.
Been updated.
So the Hawthorn North Melbourne matchup, which was at 4:40, has now been moved to 12:30. So moved forward 3 hours. And the Richmond game has been pushed back an hour and 10 minutes to 3:20. So, plenty more overlap now, which is awesome. So this is obviously going to affect your vice captaincy. A lot of people obviously were going to be looking at Tristan Sherry.
Yeah.
And your loop options. So, for example, someone like myself, I have been, using my F7 loop with a Jasper Scaife, the red dot for Hawthorn.
Mark.
And I was going to be looping Jeremy Cameron with that. I can no longer do that.
Not anymore.
So if I want to go with a Jeremy Cameron, he might have to go straight onto my field and not have the ability to loop him. So just be aware of those changes in times and if that does affect any of your loops. The other thing is Billy Dowling got named for the Adelaide Crows this week. So if he was your loop and you've been relying on a Hawthorn loop like myself, you're out of luck when it comes to that F7 looping ability. So a bit of a tough spot for that one there. In terms of players named, there wasn't anything too crazy going on. Will Phillips is back for North Melbourne. 2 big outs for West Coast in terms of their key defensive stocks. So you've got Jeremy McGovern and who was their other one that was dropped or maybe didn't come back? I think they had another key defender either out or not returning for... So they basically have no key defenders left there, which has led to Jeremy Cameron being the number 1 traded-in player this week, which is very interesting to see. Otherwise, not a whole lot of news there going on for the...
Bit of Pousis on some...
Yeah, Pousis is back. So if you had him rolling around, you might be able to get a one there. Dan Houston was suspended for his... shit tackle the other day. So, yeah, but otherwise, not too much going on the news, which is what we like to see, I guess. So,
yeah, for sure.
All right. Should we start talking about some trade targets? Any chats come through?
Should.
No, I don't think we've seen any. So, all right, let's talk about some trade targets. Let's go defenders first. And defenders... Cool. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just gonna do this.
Fell asleep at the wheel here.
Yeah, I just want to do the transition, mate. Looks a bit fancy.
Defenders are almost as bad as the forwards these days. I can't pick D6, man.
Yeah.
I think I've got Wang and Nick Martin here. What I probably should have done, and I was a bit selfish because I assumed most people haven't, but people would have traded him out. But I think Nick Dacos would probably also make the top of this list playing tonight. But Nick Dacos, Wang, and Nick Martin are probably the 3 defenders that I'd be trading in if I was looking to offload someone like a Sicily or something like that. I don't have a lot of confidence in anyone else. I know there's been talk about some of the defenders from West Coast. I don't think you can do any of the Freo guys. I don't think you can do Colby McKercher. Bailey Dale's got a tough matchup at the Giants. Max Holmes has been bad. He's put up like 370s in a row. Trent Rivers, I don't mind. He had 86 last week and a high amount of CBAs with no Petrarca and Oliver. The rest of the defenders, I mean, Matt Roberts maybe is like the guy you're sort of landing on with him going, basically 90 plus for the last 6 rounds. But outside of that, I think it's a pretty dry area. So this leads me to asking you, Sicily, how much of a trade out priority is he to you? Is he someone that if you're trading him to like a Wangani Millera, are you getting much in that sort of a trade, or are you better off looking elsewhere?
I think your floor's obviously quite a bit higher if you're getting in a Wang compared to a Sicily. But then...
Just quietly as well, just to go back into where was me. Lowest score since round 1.
Sicily.
Like, Sicily.
Yeah.
Lowest score since round 1, and it was against Richmond. Anyway, carry on.
So I mean, the flaws there as well, but we know what Sicily can do. He can turn that on a dime and he can give you the 130 that you might want as well. So,
last time we played North Melbourne, he scored a 66, his third lowest score for the year.
yeah. So if you're happy with what the rest of your team's doing and Sicily's the trade, then you're not going to get any argument from me. In my opinion, if you don't have Dacos, I'll be going Dacos. Your trade is locked in tonight. I get that. But Nick Martin, for me, hey, it looks like perhaps last week they decided he's back in that half-back role, and we know that even in a match...
last week I thought he was on the wing a fair bit. The week before he was on the half-back.
Oh, okay, sorry. My apologies.
I think,
I thought that I was...
He kicked a couple goals earlier, 3 goals last week. He still played the 100% game time, which he's done the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm going him before I go Wang. It's not the time of year to get a safe 90 from Wang. It's the time of the year to go for a ceiling score.
Yeah, 6.
So, Dacos... followed by Nick Martin, in my opinion, anyway.
All right, there you go. Versus the Brizzy Lions. The other thing is, and this is one of the learnings I think I want to take out of this time of the year, is trying to get better at understanding the ladder and what that means for the teams playing. So I was trying to understand and where I went wrong in terms of the Sicily move last week and why he scored so shit. And what I probably didn't factor into enough was that Hawthorn needed the percentage. So Hawthorn... they were just trying to kill Richmond. Yep. And they weren't fucking around, chipping around the back and things like that. They were guns blazing the whole time, trying to boost their percentage as much as possible. And had they been in a position where their fate was kind of, regardless of what they scored, it was sealed, I think you would have had a different story.
A bit more waxing.
But because their ladder position is dictated by percentage... So I guess to lead that into is there certain things from the ladder and how things are going to move that would affect these guys? So for example, like St Kilda, they're gone, like they're out. They're versing Carlton, who have to win. How does that affect that game in the way it's played? Is that something that they're going to play a bit more defensive? What do you reckon?
Look, I'm not sure you're going to get a meek effort from St Kilda. Like St Kilda showed up.
And Essendon's also, like, they're out as well. In terms of, and they're versing Brisbane, who more or less can't do too much. Which of those players, like in terms of Wang and Nick Martin, play better in a game that doesn't mean too much for their clubs?
I think Nick Martin.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty thirsty gangster, doesn't he? Yeah, you're probably right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, there's something that I want to monitor this week and maybe look to improve on for my game next year. Let's talk about some mids. Noah Anderson.
It's got to be with the matchup, doesn't it?
Has to be. He looked bloody awesome last week, especially in the first half, killed it. I think he had 75 at halftime.
Took back.
They even got smashed. It's not even like they won. They got killed.
Yeah.
I think they'll comfortably win this game. I actually think Noah Anderson's a great player. Kicks it every single time he can. And Richmond aren't going to do anything to him. They're just going to let him do his thing. So I think that's a good one here. And then your boys, well, Butters, your boy.
Yeah.
And then Jack Steele is another good one who, if he didn't have that poor game before his bye, we'd all still have.
Yeah.
But a lot of us traded him out, and he's been great since.
He has. He's had an interesting season from that perspective. But I still think you got the order there. Anderson, you target the matchup. Butters is... That last game of the round, it could be nothing, but it could be everything. Yeah,
and that's interesting.
So, I mean, it's too late to let that kind of dictate your terms, but I think it's at Optus, isn't it?
It is.
So I think for me, there's going to be stacks of peel up for grabs for those both Freo and Port midfielders. So it could be one of those ones where you look and unfortunately your guy's not the guy that went big, but I think there's a chance that we see tons from Brayshaw, Sarong, Rossi, Butters.
If Carlton lose, then Freo has a chance to, if they win, make it in.
And then in
or
Port's,
if Hawthorn or Bulldogs lose, but they both have easier matchups.
From Port's perspective, is it... does it determine where they sit in the top
Port, they're sitting second, but if the Giants win and the Giants are versing the Bulldogs,
the Giants jump them.
Then the Giants jump them. So that home ground. So
yep.
I mean that Sunday's going to be very interesting. But like you said, it's going to be a bit hard to manoeuvre those kind of things later on. So bit difficult to let it influence your decisions.
We'll talk some forwards, but before we do, the Prawn Star jumped in with a super chat. Do I go Young to Rosie or Brayshaw?
Young
Or
to Rosie or Brayshaw, yeah.
Simpkin to Daniels or Cameron. Young to Rosie.
Ooh. Into the grand final. The other bloke scored 50 less last week. Simpkin is a pod. So you don't really want Simpkin as a pod.
You don't. But then also,
Because they play...
hard to know what the other person's going to do. But Daniels went 170. Like, we understand that. But then you only have to look back one more week to see that Daniels... I think he went 60, and that's not a slight on him as a player. He's a great player, but that particular role is you're going to get that disparity. So, and then Jeremy Cameron. So if you went that way, Simpkin out, who are you going, Daniels or Cameron?
I'm going Cameron.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to talk about the next slide, but yeah, I think Cameron's a great option this week.
The GWS Bulldogs game is like such a big game that even though Brent Daniels is an elite player, I don't think you're going to see a 170 from a high half forward in this particular game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
it's
just going to be a huge game. I think you could see a big score from like a Bond to one of those premium midfielders, but it's going to be tight. It's going to be scrappy.
Yep.
And again, no slight on Brent Daniels because he's an absolute jet. But I'd probably go for Cameron in a loose.
Yeah, I think I'd do that. The other thing, Phillips back in for North. Last game of the round, do they push one of their more senior players out a little bit more and just throw the kids in? It's Hawthorn, one of the hardest matchup for midfielders in the comp, who are going to continue to try and run over the top of them. So I think you'd try and get off Simpkin as a pod. Hayden Young I don't love either, but I think especially, I mean, if he's in your midfield, Rosie would be a nice upgrade.
Yeah. All happening in that same game. Rosie, Brayshaw, it's all...
Same game. I think that the difference and the ceiling difference between a Simpkin floor and a Cameron ceiling is the biggest difference, I think.
This week, yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of the best improvement, I think that's the best trade. I think the other trade is probably a more certainty of an upgrade.
Yeah.
But with less of a like a cash in immediate positive, if that makes sense.
Maybe see if you can get a bit of inside intel as well, Prawn Star, see what your mate's doing with his trades this week and see what you can do.
I'd like the last one, to be honest. I reckon get Cameron in.
Let's talk forwards.
Forwards. Jeremy Cameron, speak of the great man. He is my number one forward target. I thought at the start of this week, I was doing my trades and figuring things out. And I thought, I'll go Jeremy Cameron. I reckon that'll be a unique little pod. Just a little point difference here. Now everyone's doing it.
You go with the old, I thought of it first.
I thought of it first. And then, of course, I mean, and when those two defenders were out, I thought, oh yeah, I'm definitely doing this. And so did everyone else. And I think it's the great move. I mean, in terms of that F6 spot, it's a throw things against the wall and see if it sticks anyway.
Hey,
and there's no better ceiling than this kind of a game. And
it couldn't be more that time of year.
No, there's no. It's just a 1 week play. I would love it to be a loop, but I'm confident enough to put him at F6. With that being said, I was confident enough with Peatling to do it, and he scored a 33. So I prefer it if you're able to loop it and then see if you can get someone else. They play early enough in the round, but if you have to do it, he's on your field, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Then I got Brent Daniels, 171. Luke,
You can't ignore it, but I tell
171.
I tell you what, you know that role is volatile. Did you go back and look at some of his previous scores too?
To be fair, to give him credit, he's actually been pretty good outside of that. Now there is a 60 and a 59 and a 45. But there's also a 99, a 116, a 93, a 129. Like, there's 3 tons there, as well as a couple of 90s in his last sort of 6 or 7 games. So he's getting it done. He's one of the better players at that position in the competition.
Oh, 100%. There's no disputing that part of it.
And because I was watching Peatling closely, he was doing that swap, right? Like, Peatling was starting the CBAs. He'd fuck off and go forward, and Brent Daniels would come up to the stoppage, and that's why he had 13 tackles.
Yeah.
Because he was all up in it. And, he's a good tackler. Like, in his last 7 games, he's only gone below 5 tackles once, and that was a 4-tackle game.
Yeah.
So I do still think it's legit. You're paying up for it now. Obviously, 170 you can't expect, which is ridiculous.
2 things. I mean, if you traded him in, you have to be prepared that you could get the 50 as well. The second thing to note is, like, who's been the biggest name in, AFL media this week in terms of their performance last week? it's Brent Daniels.
Yeah.
You know, on every show that I watched this week,
Yeah.
Brent Daniels, he's a gun, and 100%, they're not wrong. But like, then if you're the Bulldogs, are you going to get beaten?
You have something
Are you
to
going to get
plan
beaten?
for it.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a tag or anything, but
No.
you're not exactly going to just let Brent Daniels do what he did last week as
Yeah.
well. So keep that in mind, whereas I kind of see Jeremy Cameron in that soft kill matchup with no defenders as potentially the guy that just goes and like... he
especially in a
effortlessly
game
kicks.
that means more, like in that game, like they're actually going to give a shit, whereas West Coast... I mean, they were the team that gave up 160 or something to Tex Walker last year in the final round of the season.
It could be one of those bloodbaths where it ends up being like that and Jeremy Cameron looks disinterested at the end, or it could be an effortless bag of 8.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Yeah, I think definitely, and that's why I've got him in this order. And then I've got Connor McDonald at number 3. Still think he's a good option. He got like a 90-odd against Richmond. I think he could do something very similar against North Melbourne.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like him as
in my mind,
option.
he's probably got the highest floor of the 3.
I could agree with that. Because again, like those small forwards for Hawthorn, just get it done, man. And you've got no Will Day, so might even be sneaking up to the stoppages a little bit more. So those are the trade targets for this week.
Mate.
Let us know what you guys are doing in the comment section below.
Is it the last one of the year?
Oh, a bit emotional here.
Well, put your goggles on so we can't see your tears.
No one's seen me crying.
Big boy, I need a big boy. Give me a big boy.
Woo! Okay, this whole segment has become very redundant these last several weeks because it's the same 2 players at the top.
Safe as houses.
Safe as houses. Tristan Sherry, number 1 big boy for the final round of the season, going up against Hawthorn, who are a very positive matchup for Ruckman. Plus, I think I heard that Miki's been a bit sick this week, so Sherry he won't give a shit. He'll tackle the hell out of him anyway. So I like him as the vice captaincy first game on Saturday. Rowan Marshall as your go-to captain on the Sunday. If you want to be different, Noah Anderson. If he can go 118 in a flogging at home, if he comes up against Richmond, this could be his 140 plus kind of game. The issue is, I believe... How much time are we going to have? Okay, because I'm still figuring this out. So they play 3:20. Well, a game at 12:30, that'll be wrapped up by then, wouldn't it? So you'd have to go Sherry into Noah Anderson.
Yes. And you do it on pretty short notice.
You do it on pretty short notice. So
And don't dare be that person that switches it early.
no, don't switch it early. If you're going early and putting the C on the red dot or something like that,
don't play with it.
You're asking for trouble there. But Noah Anderson I like as a unique play. Lockie Whitfield is right up there. I think he's going to be good against the Dogs. I think he's just a player that steps up, and I don't think the Dogs will tag. They're at Mars, though, so
It's a long way
windy marking player maybe affects him here, but I think it's a good matchup anyway.
Ball tends to float away sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit. Low gravity. Nick Dacos tonight.
Hey.
This could be big.
Well, Melbourne... I think Melbourne showed up last week.
They did. They did show up, Viney. Huge.
But I don't see a tag.
They're not tagging, right? Surely not.
And I mean, we've seen that he can do 60-point quarters with somebody. Well, I mean, last
He
week,
had 20 points with his first and second quarters combined.
Yeah.
And, 100 and something with the other 2 quarters.
Second quarter is close to one of the best I've seen this year.
Oh, it probably was the best I've seen. I just think that he's still hungry. I still think he's a player that is going to go out and perform his best. I don't see him, taking things slowly personally. But again, probably that, obviously the VC, if you want to roll into a Sherry, if you feel like Sherry is a really safe option, he's the best option I think that you're going to do going into an X. Number 6, I've got Jeremy Cameron in my captains. Could you... The issue with the swap now kind of messes this up because before you could have gone a VC on Jeremy Cameron into a Sherry. Now you can't. Now you've got to decide on doing a Cameron instead of a Sherry as a VC going into Marshall, which makes it much less appealing because I feel like Sherry was the safest going into captain. But this is that play that last game of the round, those key fours, the kickbacks, score 150s. It happens more than it probably should.
You could dare to be different. And I think for a lot of people, their grand finals this weekend for their leagues. And so if you're looking at your head-to-head and you're thinking, I'm probably like behind in a few categories and I just need something to distinguish myself, but I can't do that with my trades. Hey, maybe it's just hoping that Sherry goes poorly and that Cameron goes well and rolling the dice.
So he's kicked 5 goals 3 times this year. He kicked 6 goals against Adelaide for a 120. He kicked 5 goals against Carlton for a 101 and 6 goals against North Melbourne in round 5 for a 122. I mean, 6 goals is a lot, and it's still only like a 120 kind of game. But
the fact that you're saying, like, oh, these are his ceiling scores, and Sherry and Marshall just
they hit them on a regular basis. So that's why he doesn't feature in my top 10. Because those other guys still have huge ceilings. So I'll still be going there. But it could be a fun one if you want to just throw cautions to the wind. I've got Errol Goulden at 7, Zach Butters at 8, Jack Steele at 9, and Nick Newman at 10, rounding out the top 10. But I think once again for the 3rd or 4th week in a row, we're all going Tristan Sherry VC into Rowan Marshall.
Yeah, it's hard not to with the way they've been going, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Should we finish up with a little spicy take?
Yeah, let's
just finish up.
A little bit of spice.
A little spice. I'm going with a final spicy take flavour this
I
week.
like this. This is
Because obviously we talk a lot of fantasy, but sometimes we'd like to talk about regular footy too. And I think my tip for the winner of the 2024 season is going to be the GWS Giants. I think they take it out, and I think they take it out going up against the form team in the competition, the Hawks. Make it to the granny, but fall short and lose to the Giants. Just a bit of inexperience on the day.
Okay.
But I reckon Hawthorn are going to ride that momentum right into the grand final.
Hey, mate, they
falling
could
short
well.
to the
And
Giants.
GWS on a bloody momentum bender as well. So,
So that's my hot take.
Spicy. I like it.
There you go.
I'm going to go a little bit spicy here as well. And I'm going to say this could be all-time spicy because these guys just don't win. And that is the Tigers.
The Tigers,
Tigers are going to finish on a dub.
Wait, if we win, do we still have the number 1 pick?
No, I think we're still losers, aren't we?
Oh, we can't win by too much.
What's the percentage?
3% behind North.
Big win for the Tigers.
Oh, if we win and give up the number 1 pick, I'll be furious.
Let's go. Hey, positive note.
Hey,
Tigers,
nice
mate.
close win. Perfect. That'd be absolutely well scripted. So I'll be rooting for that.
Take on Dimmer and
Dimmer he would not let that happen. Surely, like that would. No, that's a bad omen. He'd sooner roll over in his grave, I reckon,
Rackers.
than let.
He's
let
not dead.
him. Yeah, well, he'd sooner do that than let the Tigers win.
He'd roll over in his grave.
Yeah, he'd literally neck himself and then roll over. All right, I think we've got another question here from John. Newman in, Rivers or Hayden Young out?
Oh, what's Rivers been up to?
I like Rivers this week, to be honest. Against Collingwood, CBA midfielder, dead rubber game. I think I'd be trading out Hayden Young before I trade out Rivers. I know he scored horrible 2 weeks ago.
But on the contrary, Hayden Young, potentially everything to play for.
But if it's a dead rubber game,
It's
he's
nothing to
not
play
the
for.
player you want. Like, he's a guy that will hang it up easily.
Yeah, it could go either way.
He'll let his hair down. Like,
Imagine it would just be so luscious.
yeah,
Like
get
a
his
shampoo
eyes and
ad.
shit.
He'd look like one of those, those dogs with the real, long neck.
Like
and
the Dulux. No.
Not like a Dulux dog.
Yeah.
But do you know the dog I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the one you're
But
talking
the
about.
dog where the hair actually parts
They're
down.
like at the dog show.
Yeah. It actually looks like a person. That's probably what Hayden Young would look like.
Yeah,
with the hair.
probably. No, I think I'd get rid of Hayden Young. I think Rivers could go decent tonight. That's my spice take part 2.
I've still got the spicy take graphic up, so I should probably sort that. But I'm going to just go something different. I'm going to say Hayden Young, keep him.
You love Hayden.
I
You
do.
traded him out, mate. You got no more allegiance to him. You don't have to back him in anymore.
I do love Youngie, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. The form coach on the podcast, or the high ranked coach. Maybe trust this guy. He's been seeing it better than I am. All right.
We'll get everyone get your questions in.
Get your questions in.
If they don't get their questions, are you still going to answer a couple maybe on Ask Me on Q or?
Maybe 1 or 2.
Sorry, I was throwing you in the deep end.
Last chance to get your question answered on askmeonq.com/ballboys, and then we'll be putting that on pause until next season.
Hopefully you're not getting questions on the off season. I can only imagine what kind of.
Hey, if you want to throw me some questions just about
It might just be
life.
Well, people.
Yeah.
It might just be people on Friday wanting to know what to have for dinner now.
Yeah, hey, if you
Now
want
that we don't talk about that.
throw me a few dollars just to suss that out, I'll let you
Squats for
know.
dinner.
But I don't know if it'd be worth your while. Get your questions in here, guys. Let us know. Anyone in the video here, drop them down. Let us know who are you in the grand final in your matchup, and some of your unique matchups in the grand final. Would love to hear some of those unique matchups so we can see if we can get a gauge on if you're ahead or not. All right, let's look at some questions to help some of these people out.
Alex has got a question. He's going, which mid goes to Butters? Is it Walsh, Merritt, Dunks, or Bont? So many good names.
Yeah, there are some good names. A lot of people might be concerned about Merritt because of his score last week. I'm not concerned. He got tagged last week. The week before he went 130. I can't see him getting tagged against the
Brisbane.
Lions. And he's, he'll be trying to set the standards for the Bombers in their
hope
final
so.
game.
You wouldn't...
So I'd almost rule him off the trade-out list.
Walsh, St Kilda with stuff to play for. I don't think you're trading Walsh. So that leaves
underwhelming.
Dunkley or Bont, and I'm not sure I want to trade either Dunkley or Bont either, to be fair. Well, Bont, the reason I'm guessing that Alex has put Bont on that list is because it is... We haven't talked about Bedford.
Let's talk about the Giants-Bulldogs match, because that's a big one, right? Yeah. So last time they played, Bont got tagged by Ward, and he got tagged to a 71. And I believe he's done that a number of times. It seems like the guy that's got his number.
Ward's a bigger frame.
Yeah. But he was rolling around on the wing last week. I don't think they'd send him into the CBAs and stop him there, but it might be like a post-clearance or post-CBA tag.
Yeah. Bedford's an interesting one too. We kind of had the discussion before we jumped on, was like, okay, if it's Bedford that's going to tag, is it Bont? Is it Treloar?
What do you think he does? What do you think they do?
Bedford, I've said on a couple of occasions, Bedford doesn't have the frame to go with some of those big midfielders, but I think he proves me wrong when he goes to some of these matchups.
I agree. Yeah.
Even though he's slight of frame, he runs hard, he tackles hard, yeah, look, and the other thing too that I think plays into this as well is normally we'd say, okay, if you tag Bont just marches you to the forward line, but I feel like this game is too big for Bont to just go.
Yeah, you
I'm
can't
going
let
forward.
that.
Especially with the Bulldogs' massive forward line, which is in form at the moment.
Yeah, you got English back in, so those forwards are going to move back.
And that for me is almost enough to not trade either Treloar or Bont.
Dunkley, he's been crap.
Yeah, I might go Dunkley. That was the longest bloody think about answering a question we've ever had.
It's hard. I think they tag Bont. I don't think they tag Treloar. I think they've shown in the past they are very much on top of Bont's influence by sending Ward to him. Whether or not it's Ward or what's his name? Why am I blanking? Bedford. Whether it's one or the other, I think Bont's getting attention. It's whether or not they do the double, I think, is the question. I don't know if they'd do that. So I think they're going to Bont, but
you're not going to get
it's hard to trade out a player like Bontempelli when you know he could come to a game like that and just take the game by the scruff of the neck.
Well, we talk about what we see as sometimes disinterested Bont. I would hazard a guess that we're not going to get disinterested Bont this week.
It's a tough one. I think depending on where you're at, if you're like coming back and you want an aggressive play, I do think trading out Bont is an aggressive play that has the potential to be successful. I'm not doing it because I'm trading out Laird and I've got to get rid of his sorry ass. But there's a world where I think it does work out.
Okay, so Alex, we've talked for 5 minutes and haven't answered your question.
So I'm going to say Bont there.
Okay,
is my answer. You're Dunkley. I don't mind Dunkley either.
Okay, Mitch has got a question for Mitch. Myers to Cameron.
If this is Mitchmond, then I'll refuse to answer. So,
no, this is probably a nice Mitch.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Myers to Cameron, or Wang or Colby to Anderson.
Ooh. Oh, Myers. I mean, he's got the same matchup, so Myers could go big.
Yeah,
I'd probably go Colby to Anderson. What do you think Colby will do this week? I mean, he didn't go that great last week with Fisher back there.
I don't think so. I think I'll also go Wang to Anderson because I think Anderson's got to be on.
You go Wang to Anderson instead of McKirch?
Sorry, I would go Kircher to Anderson, but I think I'm going that option just because I think that Anderson's ceiling this week is too much to pass up.
And 3 on the big boys.
Look, Myers has every chance to give you 80, and if Cameron gave you 100, I still think Anderson's going to outscore those other guys by more than 20.
I agree.
That's my feel. I feel like Anderson's the guy with the ceiling this week.
Yeah, I think we're aligned there. So yep. Finally got a straight answer.
Yeah, oh wait, you don't get them often, so bloody buy a lotto ticket. Sean, Rivers, debatably has the better role.
Yeah.
They both should go, but I think Young over Rivers for Sean.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Sean. Yeah, I think that was in reference to that question earlier.
Yeah, very nice.
All right.
Andrew's got a question. What are your thoughts on Brodie Grundy to Stanley? And
That's a spicy question.
Kennedy to Dylan Moore.
Well, I think we need Dylan Moore. So I
Yeah.
think that's a trigger I'd pull. And Kennedy scored well last week, but he did as a forward.
Yep.
So you're running the gauntlet there. What was the other one? Grundy to Stanley. Oh, my days.
Is that to generate
West
enough
Coast.
cash for the other side of things?
It's a West Coast matchup. And he went 96 last week. Grundy scored, what did he scored like a 40 or something, didn't he? He was ugly.
Back
44.
to opening round.
Holy shit.
Type Grundy.
So yeah, Grundy can go. He's got Adelaide.
Stanley went all right last week, I think. He's serviceable. He's in the 90s, wasn't he? Reece Stanley?
Yeah, he got a 90.
Yeah.
Fuck, Reece Stanley though.
But if it's what Andrew needs to get his other trade done, to get in Dylan Moore. Hey.
What about Mark Pitnet? Solo rucking. Did you go there first?
Nah, I think Stanley could beat up on the Eagles.
Yeah, I'll tick it off. If that other upgrade's a good one. So
Alright.
I'll tick it off.
Bales is not happy, I'm guessing, with how you referenced Rory Laird before.
Yeah, well, mate, he cost me a lot. My three most unique players, guess who they were? They were Peatling,
Yeah,
they were Sicily, they were Rory Laird.
it's Laird.
All three of them had their worst score for the season.
When you
Sicily had a 30 in round one, but, since round one, let's say that.
This is the tough thing about luxury season. When you looked at your team coming off the back of upgrade season, you're like, fuck, what a good team. And then you end up sitting here and going, how the fuck is Sicily, Peatling and Laird rocking around in my team?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, look, Laird was doing well for me, and then Matt Crouch, who was supposed to be out for the season,
Haha, back.
just waltzed back in.
Revenge.
So, yeah,
Okay,
that was
find Lee, Hail Mary defender under 800k. Are we going Rivers, Holmes, Richards, Duggan? Give him the Hail Mary.
I think it's Rivers is the Hail Mary that I'd be going for. The tough thing is you're pulling the trigger tonight. Bailey Dale, I would have said, but the GWS matchup, I think, will be too hot for him to really wax and collect a lot of the ball. And even he might be in line for a bit of attention, to be honest. There's been a lot of talk about him being and how damaging he can be. It wouldn't shock me if you have a Ward go to Bont and why can't I remember this guy's name? Bedford go to someone like a Bailey Dale. That wouldn't shock me at all. So
He's damaging across half-back.
I think it's Rivers for me.
Rivers.
What were the other options?
Rivers, Holmes, Richards, Duggan.
I was looking at this price bracket before, and there's really not many people that I love. What about a Danny Rioli against the Gold Coast Suns?
Well, he could be putting on a show for his new team.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's actually not even the worst.
They're a good matchup for defenders. They're a great matchup
There you
for
go.
defenders.
There's your Hail Mary.
Danny Rioli.
Well, he went 150 the other week, didn't he?
Yeah, 130.
What did he do? Was that last week or was that
The week before against St Kilda.
What did he go?
10 marks. And he went 82.
Yeah, fucking.
In a thumping.
Danny Rioli, give it a go.
Is it at the MCG?
It's an audition.
I
Yeah.
think it's at the MCG.
Yeah.
Big ground.
Hey.
There you go. There's the spicy one.
Okay.
But I do like Trent Rivers.
Currently have Mana F6. I know Dad was talking about this with me the other day as well. I think he's going to try and loop Mana and see what's going on. So Mana, what's his projection? What do we think against West Coast?
I think he goes 80 plus.
And are you taking that F6, locking it away?
Oh,
sorry, if that's an F7, I think.
Depends who you got to follow.
Yeah.
Most options, yes. My line's been 80. You get an 80, you take it.
Yeah.
When he talks about Cameron here, is it Mana to Cameron?
Yeah, so he's going, if he's not going to keep Mana, will he trade to Cameron or Roberts to Hayden Young? I don't think I'd go Roberts to Hayden Young.
Roberts or Young.
Oh, that's his other trade.
Wayne.
My apologies, Brendan.
I don't mind Roberts. He's been good. He's better than most other options of defence.
So maybe go Young to, and then I'd go.
I think Young to one of those guys is probably the best upgrade.
Yeah, I'm going.
But again,
Mark
that
Marcus
argument where
at 4.
Mana to Cameron could be the ceiling could prove to be big.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the time I'm taking 80 points from an F6.
Yeah.
Not a fancy player here. Does Dacos get tagged tonight? Asking for my multi. Ask Jaffa here. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's our opinion. I wouldn't think so. I mean, Melbourne played really well last week, but they have nothing to play
So the
for.
only time they've tagged Dacos in the past was with Neil Bullen. He's gone, right? Like he's leaving Melbourne, isn't he?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I've heard
I'm
to
not
say
all
that
across
he's
it. Okay.
I think he's leaving, going
Okay,
somewhere else.
you breaking news here, or am I behind the times?
No, I think you're behind the times. So why would
sound
you
like
why would you make a player tag Nick Dacos in their final game for the club? Like,
And if you tag him
And why-
with no reason, you just hate watching good footy.
and do
Sure.
Melbourne want to win? Like, do they want to win? Like, what point does it serve them winning?
No, see, this is where I think you and
Like,
I
I'm
slightly
sure
have a
they wouldn't not want to win, but it's like you're not pulling every single
string that you
maneuver
have.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if I was a betting man, and clearly Jaffa is it Jaffa?
Yep.
I'm going to say no tag because I just like watching good footy and I want to see him run around and get 40.
Yeah, it'd be a crime to tag Dacos in the final round.
Absolute crime. Okay, one last question, Mitch, and then we'll park up for the year.
Oh, for the year.
What do we
Emotional
got?
again.
Who scores more, Manor, Pooh, or Powell? Powell!
I'm ruling Powell out. I don't know what happened those 3 weeks, but he was back to being crap.
Pooh's is for me. Let's go Pooh. Against the depleted...
Coming back off the runs. Oh,
They're
who are they
not-
versing again? What, they got
Carlton.
Carlton. Oh, it'll be a tough game too. Big game. I'm gonna go Philippou. Yeah, close one though. Close one to call between him and Manor. Yeah, no, we'll back into Philippou. He'll be up there with one of the first pick next year,
Yeah.
assuming he's still a forward.
I said last question, but we have to respect our fantasy fanatic in the question. Going Hill to Cameron,
Mm-hmm.
Treloar to Dawson. Hey, Dawson against Sydney. Last time,
He gets tagged, surely.
that's what I started to think. Last time he didn't score well against Sydney, but then the other thing that I thought was he's in form.
He is in form.
He's in form. He's coming up against his old side. I know it's not fresh old side, but
300s after I fucking trade him.
this is the time of year to have that pod guy that can go 130 midfielder. And if Bales is thinking Treloar maybe cop some attention to Dawson, okay, or is his alternative here?
I think you're trading a tag player to a tag player. I think it's more certain that Dawson gets tagged than Treloar gets tagged, personally. Or, because Sydney have already locked up first place, do they bother tagging? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's no fucking secret that they tag, though. Like,
Yeah, what's
what-
James Jordan going to do if he's not tagging?
It's not like
Is he actually
you're
gonna
keeping cards close to your chest.
Is he going
Like,
to go hunt the football? What's the
No.
football?
yeah, don't know. Sub, maybe? I think it's a flip of a coin, that one. What was his other decision?
Well, is it Young to Salem or Dowling to
Young to Salem.
to Caleb Daniel?
Caleb Daniel.
Oh, these are his other options. So he's going Hill to Cameron.
Oh, so Treloar Dawson's a cash-making move.
It's an option.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Okay.
Well, I still like it better than Young to Salem, and I like or Dowling to Caleb Daniel.
Yeah, I think I prefer that as
You go Dowling to Caleb Daniel.
the Treloar to Dawson as a
Yeah.
cash-making move.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay, love your work, Bales.
Love
as
you,
always.
Bales. Speaking of Bales, actually, we'll give him a shout out that we've got after this weekend. Mate, the guys over at AFL Fanatics, especially Bales, hardest working man in
We
fantasy.
say it every time.
He's jumping straight into the AFLW fantasy. They've already released a few podcasts. I think they had a team reveal either today or the other day.
Fuck, he works quick, that man.
Yeah, he's quick on it. But I'm going to be maybe popping in and joining them this season over on the AFL Fantasy Fanatics. I can't commit to, full on there every week, but I might be popping in there and about. I can't say I'm a professional or very good at AFLW fantasy, but I'm going to give it a crack this year. And
It's got to be the same, doesn't it?
what's that? Yeah,
You're pretty good at this. It must be good at that.
Yeah, there's no, just extra trade per week, different prices, 10 weeks,
You'll sort it out, mate.
double round.
Is there a
weeks.
car? What's the prize?
Yeah, it's a Hilux. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, straight up.
Woo!
Are you gonna give it a crack?
Nah, I'll let you win it, and then I'll have a ride.
Oh, okay. You try and moz me from the other house over there. We'll get kissed on this car. How about that?
Let's go.
But yeah, so definitely do check out the AFL Fantasy Fanatics on their live show after this, but also for the AFLW gear, and come check me out over there. And yeah, that'll be happening after this season is done. This is our final episode, guys. We'll be kicking things back up probably closer to Christmas and the new year, so have a bit of a break, but we'll obviously be cheering along the finals as we go along. But thank you very much to everyone who supported us, given us the old subscribe, thumbs up, comment us. A special thanks you to all those people who came in strong with the super chats, the Ask Me on Q questions, and all the lovely things that you guys have said about the podcast over the season. It's been huge. Our second season, another successful season. Do you want to say anything before we wrap up?
Just echoing the thoughts. Appreciate everyone jumping on, and the fact that we just get to sit here and talk shit, and everyone kind of gets on board and is really friendly. We really appreciate it. So
yeah, great fun and great time to do it. We'll be back next year, guys. And if you haven't already, if you have enjoyed and this podcast has helped you out this season, please go onto Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Give this one a 5-star rating and review. Let your friends know about it for next season. Tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your friends. And we'll see you guys for 2025. Laters. Bye.